Search and rescue efforts continue around the clock for the sixth day at the site of last week's deadly building collapse in Surfside, Florida. The death toll has now reached at least 11 after the 40-year-old condo collapsed. 150 people, though, are still unaccounted for. Meanwhile, an engineer's report from 2018 showed failed waterproofing was causing major structural damage to a concrete slab at the site. Terry Spencer, a reporter for the Associated Press, is bringing us more on this story. So, Terry, as you know, we all sort of anxiously wait for news of survivors, or even just sort of, so that we can kind of rise above just the number 11, because we know there are going to be more deaths. We're also asking all these questions about how could something like this happen? How could something like this happen in this country? Terry, according to the building report, more than $9 million was needed to address repairs. What could this mean for potential legal recourse?
Question, because obviously the building is run by a condo association, and the condo association is made up of the people who live there. So this is their choice whether to go forward with the repairs. This is not like an apartment building where there's an owner. The condo owners own the building. So I imagine that there's probably not much they could sue unless there was some sort of default with the builder. But the builder, he died in 2014. And his company is long out of business. So I think this is on them and their insurance company.
That's really fascinating. I wonder, after this is over and we continue to discuss what happened here, whether or not, taking a hard look at condo boards, who's on it. I mean, like you point out, these are just people living in the building. They don't have particular expertise when it comes to reading a structural report. I mean, I don't know if I would know whether something rose to the level of being sort of a catastrophic failure concern, unless it literally said catastrophic failure concern, on the document. So you have to wonder if the people sort of even reviewing these documents, if they're just regular people, if they had an idea of how dire things were.
Well, think of it like a city council, right? Most of the people on a city council are just lay people like you and I. We don't have understanding of that. But they hire people who have expertise, and that's what they did here. They hired an engineer. He came back. There was a new report out this morning that the condo board sent a letter to the residents back in April saying the engineer had come back in and revised it to $15 million was going to be required to fix the problems in the building. Now, some of that included the roofing. Some of that included other things that probably aren't involved in the collapse here. But it had gone up significantly since 2018 when it was $9 million.
Wow. So, despite a small army sifting through the rubble 24 hours a day, no one has been found alive since the day of the collapse. In fact, only 11 people have been found, period. What can you tell us about how this search is going?
Slowly, methodically, but around the clock. They have people both on top of the pile and coming up underneath the pile, from underneath the parking garage, using jackhammers and saws to dig into it. There was some question early on from some of the family members of people who were in the building, questioning the speed at which it was being done. They were pointing to collapses in other countries where everybody would just get on top of the pile and start moving things. But it was pointed out to them that that's not really a safe way to do it. You have to do it methodically. You have to have people come in and look at what's going on, because if you move something, that causes something else to move. And if there's something in if there's somebody alive in a pocket, you don't want to cause something to fall down on them. So they even took an Israeli team down to the hotel where they're keeping the family members. And he explained to them that, yes, this is how we would do it in Israel. We have a lot of experience with collapsed buildings, unfortunately, because of war and terrorism. If this was us, we'd be doing it in the exact same manner. That was get told to the families down there to give some reassurance that this was being done as quickly as possible. But you can only go so fast without endangering both anybody who's alive under the pile, but also the people who are working on the pile.
Yeah, we heard yesterday, I think, about one rescuer who had tumbled something like 25 feet down sort of the rubble, and
Right.
you don't want that to happen. The collapse happened early Thursday morning, 6 days ago. As time goes on, the teams continue to look for signs of life. Responders will have to begin the process that they're calling rapid delayering. What's that process?
I don't have a lot of details on that, but they have heavy equipment here that they can pull large chunks of concrete off the building, and they can do it as fast as they can hook it up. And then what happens is people come in, the rescuers come in, and they bring in men, women to lift the smaller boulders off and put them into bins and then take them back to larger bins. So I'm guessing that will just be more of that. I mean, they can only go so fast. If there's any hope that there's people alive underneath there, they have to be very careful.
A team of government scientists and engineers are going to be investigating. I'm wondering if that investigation also perhaps includes the twin building, also made by the same, I presume, the same builder, or any of the other buildings in the area.
Well, there is a twin building. It's about 100 yards to the north of the collapsed building. It was built a year later by the same builder. It has been exposed to it's made of the same material. It has basically the same design. It's a little bit smaller, but it's been exposed to the same tides. It's been exposed to the same salt air that can cause rapid rusting of the rebar inside the concrete. They're having an inspector, an engineer come in there today to start beginning a look into that. They had inspectors in there over the weekend. I spoke to many of the residents yesterday. A few of them are scared. A few of them won't go back in there, but most of them are saying well, we have a separate condo board. We have kept up our maintenance. We think the building is safe. We're not going anywhere.
Oh, Terry, that's very fascinating, because I kept on thinking, boy, if I lived in that building, I would not step foot back in there at all, not 1 foot. But it's a good reminder that they are separate condo boards. It's slightly in a different situation, and it doesn't seem like it has endured the same kind of, I guess, repair issues that this one does. Hey, Terry Spencer, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.